Okay, guys, sorry I'm a few minutes late. I'm going to give you guys a minute to wander on over. Go ahead and share this video if you think somebody's going to like it. So today we are going to be making these fun adjustable bracelets out of 18 gauge wire. That's what we're going to be using. And it's a simple wire work. This one got a little bent up. That we're going to hammer and then embellish with some beads. Super fun, super easy. I know you guys are going to love it. And it's really nice because of their adjustability. You can give them as a gift or sell them at art fairs and not have to worry about if it's going to fit someone. So, hi Kate and hi Lisa. Nice to have you guys here. I'm going to gather my supplies. I'm going to be using 3 little wobbles today. These really, really adorable lemon beads, lemon and limes that I got at, these were from Cassandra's Beads to Live By, but they were from a few years ago and she doesn't have them in stock anymore. But if you go onto Etsy and look up lemon check glass beads, you will find some. There's various sellers that are selling them in different types. So that's where you can find that. I'm going to have a 14 millimeter hibiscus bead, and then I have 3 size 8 large hole melon beads. Ooh, and beads flying all over the place. I'm going to grab a little leaf. Excuse me, I have to. Oh, the beads went rolling. Okay. And you guys could use any combination of beads that you want. All right, I see we have some of our usuals have shown up. Thank you guys so much, Mary Sue and Susan, Candy, Marguerite. Hi guys, we have Chris. I'm so glad to see you here. Haven't seen you in a while, so yay. All right, Ramona in Texas. Good to have you here too. Okay, yeah, so great project for orphan beads. You can use whatever little charms or dangles you want to use. My first series that I did with these, I did them with my little birds on the bottom and nests. Super cute. We're going to need a few jump rings, and we're going to be using 6 millimeter jump rings, and then a few head pins too to do the little dangles. Oh, and of course some spacer beads. And I'm going to pull those out in a gold tone. Okay. And then the last thing we're going to need, well, maybe not the last thing, but we're going to need a few head pins. Oh, and then a little trick that I came up with to keep the beads from rolling around. We're going to use some little vintage crimp covers as crimp beads. So these will work to cover up crimps, but you can also use them as crimp beads. Or if you have little 2 millimeter crimp beads, you can use those too, and we're going to put them on either side of these beads so that they don't keep rolling around. Oh, and I'm probably going to need a few little spacers on the end too. Okay, so there's the goodies. Hi Norma and Megan, Amanda, Pam, nice to have you guys here. Dale, nice to have you guys. Thank you for joining me. All right, so the wire, let's talk about the wire. I am using 18 gauge wire from the hardware store. Now, if you guys don't know this, hardware wire is a little bit thicker of a gauge than jewelry wire. So if I were using jewelry wire, like para wire I would probably use 16 gauge because that's going to be thick enough. If I'm buying my copper from the hardware store, I'm going to get 18 gauge. So keep that in mind. If you are using jewelry wire or para wire, you'll want to use 16 gauge. If you're using wire from the hardware store, 18 gauge is what you're looking for. And I will put that in the comments when I post after the video here. Hi Lynn and Julie, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 3 11-inch lengths. And let me get those cut real quick. And I did try these out with 18 gauge jewelry wire, para wire from the twisted wire, and they are just a little thin. So, you know, for reference, if you wanted to see, I wouldn't recommend doing the 18 gauge jewelry wire. You definitely want 18 gauge hardware wire or 16 gauge if you're using para wire or jewelry wire. I don't know why that is. I don't know why there's not a universal size, but there's not. Okay, so I have my 3 11-inch pieces, and oh, this wire's also been antiqued already with liver of sulfur gel. So we did a little bit of the prep work beforehand. Oh, Lisa, fantastic. In the comments, guys, on the Facebook, so it won't show up on the, well, I know what to do. Let me remove my, if you guys don't know, I'm Heather Powers from Humble Beads. Hi, welcome. And I'm a jewelry maker, author, illustrator, designer, and it's my job every week to get those beads off your bead table and into some jewelry, and that's what we are doing here today. So yeah, if you guys, you'll have to go on the Facebook page to see Lisa's little link for the lemon beads, or you can just go on Etsy and just type in lemon beads. But I also, after the video, I'm going to be listing kits. I have 19 kits that I put together. Wish it was more, but that's all I had of the lemons. So we have 19 kits available for you with the most adorable little lemon beads that I've made out of polymer clay. Aren't those just the cutest things ever? So we have the little kits with the lemons and well, this whole little setup right here all ready to go. Okay, the project is actually very, very simple. And you're going to need your jewelry pliers and wire cutters and some kind of jar. And this one is, let's see, I'll tell you how. It's 2 1/4 inches wide. So a jar that's about 2 1/4 inches wide. I've also used a little jelly jar, like a ball jam jar. That size works really well for this. So 2 1/2 inches wide, approximately. It can be a little bigger or a little smaller, it doesn't matter. Okay, so you're going to take one end of your jewelry wire, and we're going to roll the end into a simple loop here at the end. Well, just like that. So you're going to roll it into a simple loop. And then you're going to take that simple loop and bend it upward. So you guys can see what I've done there. So I took that simple loop and bent it upward. I have a little bend on my wire there. I want to straighten that out before I wrap it. Okay, so with the bend, with the little loop down, I'm going to wrap this around my fancy contraption here. And again, a little glass or jam jar or if you have this big Renaissance jar, that will all work. About 2.5 inches is what you're going for, and I'm going to make that general circle first, and then I'm going to just make it a little bit smaller, just overlapping the two ends and pulling them down to make this a little bit smaller. So you can see as soon as I let it go, it bounces back a little bit. Okay. So that looks good. I can adjust it more later. My Renaissance mandrel. That's right, Lisa. Thank you. Hi, Em. Glad you're here with us. Okay, again, guys, this is 18 gauge wire from the hardware store. And for some reason, this brand at my local hardware store is actually a flattened wire. So it gives it a little different dimension, which I'm really digging. That was like an extra plus. Not something I planned for. So this is a flattened wire. Okay, just straightening that up a little bit. Okay, before we do the closing, we're going to add our beads on here. And so I'm going to start with my little wobbles. So I'm going to take 3 wobbles with 2 spacers and stick those on first. And the wobbles, the holes are big enough for the 18 gauge. You might just have to twist them back and forth a little bit. And this will work with any of the wobbles that we saw on the website. And these are the little green speckled ones that we carry. And in case you're new to Humble Beads, these are the polymer clay beads that I make. And I'm putting a little O bead spacer in between each one, just to add a little bit of separation, a little bit of shine of the metallic finish of the glass. And I'm going to get that right in the middle. I'm going to cross these over. I'm going to try to get this a little bit smaller. Okay, that looks good. And now I'm going to take the end, the other end, and I'm going to do exactly the same bend, rolling it to make the loop, just like that. And I'm going to take this loop and straighten it out. Oops, I did that. Oh, that's fine. Okay. So now I have this loop that I've created on this side, and I'm going to open it up like you would a jump ring, so left to right. I'm going to open it up towards the inner part of the loop. Oh, darn it. I did that wrong. Ah! Okay. The first step before you make the loop. So before you make the loop, you have to stick it in the loop on the other side. That's the very first thing you have to do. So I have it stuck through the loop of the first side, and I'm going to turn that down to make a loop. And I'm going to turn this toward the bracelet, the little loop that I made. I'm turning it upward towards the bracelet. And now I'm going to open up this loop towards the inside, and then you slip your little wire through there. Okay. That made it look like a mess. Okay, let's open that up just a little bit more. Should just slip on there pretty easily. It's hard to do things when it's not right under my face. Wrangling the wire so far away from where I normally work with it. Okay, so closing that back up so that you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. Oh, that was a little rough. Sorry guys, I gotta get myself a little bit closer here so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Now this one looks rough, so I'm going to straighten this out. So you have some wiggle room before we hammer it. So if you need to make it look nicer, that's what this step is for. And I want to have a little bit of room in between these two. I don't want them to be layered right on top of each other because I'm going to be sticking little dangles in here, in this part right here. So I want to have some space in between. Okay, my next one will turn out much better because that's the way it goes. Okay. Sorry, always a little fussy when you're doing it on camera. Okay, just going back and forth to make it look the way I want it to look. I'm going to keep closing it a little bit tighter until I know it's the size that I want. Which it's going to open and close this much, so you get it to about the size that you know will fit over your wrist. Okay, I'm going to position these beads back to the center. Okay, I'm going to put my camera up just a little bit. Laura, you can head over to humblebeads.com and look at what classes I have to offer. I do teach bead making classes, and sometimes I do live classes and sometimes they're recorded classes. Okay, steel bench block. Here, I'll turn it over to the less used side. I'm going to open these up enough so that I can hammer in between here. And this is a ball peen hammer. On Elizabeth, I'm going to show you that on the next one, how to get these tightened. Okay. And I'm going to hammer that just a little bit more. Good. And I'm going to put this down. And I'm going to hammer with the bracelet laying down all along the length of the bracelet. And this is going to work hard in the bracelet so that it doesn't bend, so that it retains its shape. And also gives it a great texture. I do have these as written instructions, and I will share that with you guys after the video too. Okay, I'm just gonna straighten Straighten the end out just a little bit. There we go. So that's one done. I'm going to do the dangles all together at once. Okay, so one bracelet, and again, it's adjustable. If you want it to be a smaller bracelet, you'll do that before you hammer and shape it. And then this will open up all this way so that I can fit it over my arm. And there's bangle number 1. Okay. And now we're going to do bangle number 2. I'm so glad you like this, guys. Okay, now let's try to do it with a little less fuss. Okay, so I have my end here. I am rolling it into a loop, just like that. And I'm going to bend this loop upward, and I'm bending it right at the loop. So that's what we have for that side. I'm going to put this on my jar, and I want it to go on the inside. Okay, just enough to form the loop, and then I'm going to make it a little bit tighter by pulling the 2 ends over. Okay, now we're going to stick the end through the first loop. And I'm going to take the end here and roll it into a loop, just like that. I'm going to turn this loop going upward. And now we're going to open up this loop towards the first loop. And then we're going to stick our wire through and then close this loop up. And that worked much better the second time now that I have myself positioned so that I can see what I'm doing. So that's how that's going to go. Much easier the second time. But if you do need to fuss with it, now is the time to fuss with it before you do the hammering. So that looks pretty good. Except I forgot to put the beads on. Oh my God. Oh, some days, you guys. Okay, second one, we are going to do the melon beads so that I can show you guys how to do that so that the beads aren't rolling around. Can't believe I did that again. Okay, I have a little spacer here. Ooh, that one's not quite wide enough. Oh, they're going to have to be the O-bead spacer. So I'm going to stick on the O-bead spacer, throw on each of my beads with the O-bead in between. And these are large hole melon beads. You can also use roller beads too. Or the large hole tubes, all of those would work on this project. Okay, now we're going to do the whole, pull it through the loop. Make sure your beads are added on before you do this step. Now I'm going to roll the little loop down. Oop, that was a little too small. There we go. And I'm going to bend this loop towards my bracelet. Okay. And now we're going to open it up. We're opening it up so that it's opening up towards the first loop. Now we're going to slip on the wire and then close that loop back up. Make sure it's closed all the way. If you need to adjust anything, now's the time to do it before we do the hammering. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right. Okay, and now, yeah, and I see your guys' comments. You guys can use a jig for this too, if you wanted a wire jig. Okay, I'm going to cross those two over enough so that I can hammer. Need to open that back up. It was a little too close. Okay, crossed over, opened up, and then so this is about 1 1/4 inch wide right there that I have it opened, that I'm hammering, in case you guys are wondering about that. Any adjustments, now's the time to make them. And I'm gonna just make this a little bit more rounded on the edges so that it curves as it opens. Okay, and then my overall shape, just gonna squish that a little bit. So before you do the hammering, you want to do any last minute shaping. Okay, that's looking and feeling pretty good. And now I'm going to take the hammer. Make sure you have the beads off of the bench block so that you don't break your beads. I'm going to turn it over and do the other side. And again, this is work hardening the metal. So Lisa, you might have to just practice with a little bit of scrap wire if you have a really small wrist. Okay, so this is this will fit up to like a 9-inch size wrist. Like if you were to take a tape measure and go around your wrist, it could go up to 9 inches. So what I would do is I would get some scrap wire and see how wide this part is, because it has to be able to fit over at least this part of your wrist. So I'm gonna say maybe start with 10 inches and see if that's too small. And again, with just a piece of scrap wire, and it doesn't even matter if it's 18 gauge wire, it could be smaller, 20 gauge wire too, just to get the length and size of the wrist. And it may just be a little bit of trial and error for you. I'm sure if somebody who was a mathy person, they could figure it out just by the math, but that's not me. I would have to practice. But you know, this will adjust pretty small too. So it could, well, I don't want it to be that crossed over. So if you need something that's smaller, let's see how big this is right here. This is about 3 inches across. So if this part of your wrist is smaller than 3 inches across, you might want to make it a little bit smaller to start with. But it will go up to 1, 2, 3, 3.5. So what was the other one? I guess it was smaller than 3. 1, 2, 3. I guess it's not that big of a difference. Yeah, it's just like a 1/2 inch difference that it's going. So give it a try, see if it fits at this size. If your wrist is smaller, then you could start at 10.5. If that's too big, start at 10. That's what I would do. But just with practice, junk wire. Okay, now let's grab our 2 little not bead caps. These are 3.2 millimeter crimp covers, and these are from Vintage, and these will be included in your kit. And so I'm going to center my beads. And I'm centering them to the adjustable part on the bottom. Try this again. And I'm going to stick the little crimp cover like that, and then I'm going to close it, having one end go underneath and one end go on top of the little crimp cover to get it closed. Can adjust it at that point to make it exactly where you want it, and then close it nice and tight. Just giving it a pinch, and then that's, let's try that again. Still moving around. I didn't get it closed quite tight enough. So let's pull out our special weapon here, which is the parallel pliers. Get a nice tight closure on that. Repeating on the other end. So this just slides over the wire. You're going to stick it right up to your bead, and I'm going to just use the parallel pliers to start with. And you're going to close one side completely, and then have the other side go on top of it. You really have to close it on the seam. Oh. I didn't close it tight enough to begin with. It would be easier if I could see the seam. There we go. So closed on both sides. Nice and tight. Yeah, the hammering work hardens the wire. All right, I'm going to do one more, and hopefully this one I will do the right way from beginning to end. Okay, so I am going to cut just a little bit of this off to start with, because the other ones I cut off the loop on each one, so want to keep that consistent. All right, got my little loop on this end, bending it upward, and now I'm going to throw on my lemon bead, and I'm going to put just a spacer on each side. The spacers are going to end up just rolling around anyways, so I don't know why I do, but I just feel like they need to be on there. Oh, shape it first, Heather. Some days I need to be a coffee drinker. Okay, so we got that shaped on there. I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller, crossing over the two ends a little bit tighter. So you can see, like, it's going pretty far over to get it the shape that I want. Okay, throw on your beads. Oh, and you could also use crimp beads on these to hold the beads in place if you wanted to do that too. You could also use a little bit of glue. Okay, now we're going to slide that through. Okay, we got my end of my loop right here, and I'm going to grab onto the end and roll it up to make my little loop, and I'm going to turn the loop up towards my wire, and I'm going to open up this wire towards the first loop, stick my wire through there, and then close up the loop on this side. And you're closing the loop left to right like you would a jump ring. Ooh, hopefully I didn't do that off screen. There we go. And now if you need to make any adjustments to the shape of your bracelet, now is the time to do it. Oh no, I have that little bead got caught on the wrong side of the tracks. So let's take that bead out of there, put the wire back through, and close it back up. Yeah, because we wouldn't be able to hammer if that little bead was in the way, because it would get crushed. And you don't want to break the glass beads. Okay, and just fiddling around with my wire here, getting this bracelet to look as close to the shape, my final shape, as I can. It just takes a little fiddling. And you can straighten things out a little bit after it's hammered too, but it's much easier to do it all if you could do it before you hammer it. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. It's a little off shapen, so I'm just gonna squeeze it gently to get the shape that I want. Okay, I'm gonna cross these over and hammer the bottom. And then we're going to hammer each of the sides, making sure I keep the beads off of the bench block. And the clay bead. It doesn't move around much. The little beads move around, but I kind of like the playfulness of that, so I'm just gonna let them hang out. Oh, Wendy, that's funny. Print beads are the kind of friends you have that make you think you don't need enemies. Okay, so I hammered this a little funky and it got crossed over. Just going to use my pliers to undo that. Open that up a little again. Phew, I don't know what I did there. Looking over at the comments, that's what I did. Alright, there we go. So just straighten those back out as needed. This one got really funky. All right. Making sure it's gonna open and close nicely and it looks well while it's doing that. So you gotta make sure the little that it has a good curve all the way through the bracelet as it opens and closes. I think the problem on this one is I have too much space in between where I bent this. I think that's causing some issues there. Okay. Alright, I'm not going to torture myself because I can do that later. Fixing this up as needed. Alright, I'm going to hammer just a tiny bit more. So we have our 3 bracelets, and now it's time to do the embellishing. And I have the 2 little lemon drops and the lime, and I took a ball peen head pin. So I'm going to put this in the center, and I'm going to fold it upward and over on both sides. So there we have the little loop that we've made on the top here. And I'm going to take the side without the ball. So we're going to put the ball over, and I'm going to make a little loop. Like that. And I'm going to grab onto the loop and wrap the end of the wire around the middle of the loop that I've made and the little ball wire end. And at least one time, it may not go around more than one time. And I'm going to pinch that closed, and I'm going to take my ball head pin side and wrap it around about 2 times. Then I have this little tiny bail that has a little ball on it. Cute. And I'm going to repeat that for the other 2. So again, pulling both the wires straight up, both the ends of the wire straight up, crossing them over, that. Then we're going to take our round nose pliers and make a loop. And it has to be a small loop. And now we're going to grab onto that loop, and I'm also grabbing onto the little ball end of the wire too. And then I'm going to wrap the rest of that wire around the middle, making sure I'm grabbing the head pin wire and the loop wire. Oh, I was able to get a little bit more wrap around that one. Okay, and now we're going to grab the end of the ball wire and wrap it around, going once or twice to get that guy wrapped around. And you could do this too with just a piece of wire, but I just wanted to do something a little fancy with that ball head pin there. And if you were going to use wire, I would use 20 gauge wire. Okay, so both ends up, and then cross over. And then we're going to take the side without the ball and make a loop, just like that. Grab onto the loop and the little ball wire and wrap around both of those with the smaller piece of wire here. Make sure you get it wrapped around to the back. Almost got it. Okay, there we go. Ooh, not quite. There we go. And now I'm going to take the ball side and wrap it around. And there we have our 3 little drops. I'm going to do a wrapped loop with the hibiscus flower. Right, Ramona? This is the fun part. Adding all the extra cute stuff. So I made the loop. You're going to grab the loop and then wrap around 2 times tightly, and then 2 times on top of those first 2 loops to make a little bit thicker of a wire wrap. And it's going to have a little bit more of that messy texture that I prefer. And I think I'm going to grab my parallel pliers and get this closed up a little quicker. Yeah, there's just something magical about those parallel pliers. Okay. So you kind of decide what you want to have on the end of each one. So for this one, oh, I forgot one more thing. I have a little, see, it kind of reminds me of a margarita, so I thought I needed a little ice cube on here. So here we have a little 8mm check glass English cut bead. So that's my margarita on ice. Okay, so I'm going to close this up. Same wire wrap that I did on the flower. And I really like wearing these as a trio. I think they look the cutest that way. And then you can kind of balance out what you have for the dangles and the beads that are going to be on the top of your wrist. Okay. So on the one with the beads, I'm going to add the little ice and one of my lemons. The one with my lemon bead, I'm going to add the lemon bead, the flower, and the leaf. And then this little guy, I'm going to add just a little lime by himself. And I'm going to attach all of these with a jump ring on each bracelet. So this is a 6mm copper jump ring. I'm going to slide both of them on the same jump ring here. And stick it through one side of the adjustable part on the bracelet. And then close it up. Yeah. I don't know why the beads are fighting with me today. I guess some days it's just like that, isn't it? Okay. Got that guy closed up nicely. And this one I like to wear with the beads on the top. I mean the little dangles on the top, and then the other one I'm going to have the beads showing. Okay. Now for this guy, I'm going to do the flower on its own, and then the leaf and the lemon I'm going to do together. And I'm going to do this so that the lemon is going to lay on top. So the leaf is going to be in the back and the lemon will be on the top. And stick that through my wire. All right, and again. So leaf first, lemon second. For some reason, someone must have needed to hear that twice. Not because I'm just clumsy, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, and one more time. Third time's the charm. Literally the charm. Okay. Grab onto this with some intensity. There we go. I don't know why. Sometimes it's just hard to make jewelry on a video. That's okay. That was me telling myself it's okay. No one needs to be perfect. And you guys are here for the process as much as the product, right? Okay. Got that closed nice and tight now. So there's the charms on bracelet number 2. And now just the little lime is going to go on the bracelet with the wobbles. Okay, that one worked a little easier. Okay, so here's my 3 bracelets, and this is how I would wear them stacked together, and then when I wear them so that they're off a little bit like that. So let's go ahead and model these for you guys. Lynn, maybe I should have had a shot of tequila before starting these. I don't know. Depending on, I dropped them so many times, probably wouldn't have helped if I had a drink before. Okay, so there we go. That's exactly how I'd wear it. Super cute and fun. Adjustable. Takes a little practice. Use some junk wire first, you guys, 18 gauge, and get the shape down a few of them before you use the kit or try your finished ones. But yeah, what do you guys think? It's pretty easy. It's much easier when you're not doing it on camera. I did not have any issues earlier with these. I don't know what the deal was. And again, I don't know. The 18 gauge wire seems okay, but I wouldn't use, the para wire with the twisted one, maybe that's okay. It's a little bit thicker, but I wouldn't use 18 gauge of the vintage wire. I would use 16 gauge if I was using the vintage wire. And this is the hardware from the hardware store, and this is 18 gauge. And I started with 11 inches for each one. I do have the printed instructions for you guys that I will post right after this video, but it's a fun time, and we're going to do oh, Lisa, don't never apologize for being chatty in the comments. That I really appreciate you guys sharing the links. And what might work better is after the if you're having trouble going on the links, it might work better to view it on a laptop, and then you can copy and paste that link they shared, you guys. Okay, so let's do a giveaway. Since you guys were sweet enough to stick through to the end with all my craziness there. Well, not too crazy, but my fumbling. Guess that's just the way it is. It's been a hard week. Okay, so there we go. Now, #lemon. That is going to be our $30 gift certificate. You guys start adding in #lemon on either Facebook or YouTube, and it will start collecting your entries. So go ahead and #lemon. We're going to do a $30 Humble Beads gift certificate. And I have the little lemon beads that are going to be in the kit, but I also have some sets with 6 little lemon beads, and I will post those after our class here too, so you guys can grab that. I also have quite a few of the little wobbles, and we have the wobbles in several different colors, so these are like fresh out of the oven though. And then I have the 19 kits, so we're going to put all of that up for you guys right after today. So you might be the lucky one that gets to shop for free a little bit. Okay, I really love these guys. And perfect project to use up your orphan beads. If you guys have gotten a Humble Beads order with like 2 little wobbles, I often send free little wobbles. You could do, I did that on this one. I did 2 wobbles with 1 little, here, I'll show that on the big screen by itself. So I used 2 wobbles and 1 roller bead. And I didn't use crimp beads on these, but I would probably do the crimp bead so that little roller bead doesn't roll away too far. But yeah, so if you guys have 2 little spacers and you want to use it for a bracelet, go ahead and add 1 more bead to it, because designing in odd numbers looks better for some reason, and a great way to use up your little orphan disc beads too. All right, so I think we have enough people who have me see, let's get this side by side. No. Well, I guess I'm going to have to do it this way. All right, let's do our drawing. And here we go. Our winner is Lynn Goodman. Yay, Lynn. So glad you won. All right, so Lynn, I want you to email mrhumblebeads@gmail.com. And that's Jessie. I put the address in the comments so you can see that. So Lynn, go ahead and email Jesse. Let him know you're the winner for this week, and he will send out your gift certificate to you. All right. So guys, hopefully I wasn't too much of a mess. If you enjoyed this project and were able to get inspired by it. Don't know why that's on there. So yeah, super fun, really easy. Do a little practice on some scrap wire first and get the basic skill down of doing the shape. And you know, they're not perfect. They're a little wonky and wobbly, but that's just part of their charm. And when you put them on, you don't notice any of those imperfections. So don't be too hard on yourself when you're making these. And again, I used 18 gauge hardware wire. If you wanted to use para wire or jewelry wire, use 16 gauge. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you guys next week. I had a plan. I forgot what it was. We'll just have to see what I put together for next week. And so, yeah, I had the design and it completely slipped my mind. So we'll just have to see what I share with you guys next week. Again, I will post a picture of these along with the written instructions so that you guys can follow along on the written instructions, and it shows with the little bird so you guys can see what that looks like. All right, guys, have a great week, and I will talk to you next Tuesday at 3 p.m. All right, happy creating. Lynn, I am not going to do the second Maracay project because I went nuts and did them all. Do you guys want to see these real quick? I'll do a little show and tell for you guys, and then I need to take pictures of these. I haven't taken pictures yet. So here's a little bonus at the end. So I used the those little washer things and the jump rings, and I just did these with 4-ply gray wax linen for these. Super cute, fun. All right, this one, I took those little, I don't know what we're going to call those, scallop design, and I hammered them. Do you guys see that textured hammer that I did on there? And then I did a combination of the sandstone, lapis, and aged bronze to make this grayish color. And I did a little row of 2 by 3 millimeter beads on the bottom. And then I took this little leaf that we had, I hammered it to make a little texture that were leaf-like with the riveting hammer, and then I painted it with the sandstone. And so I love these ones, so pretty and fun. And then I did a little pair of earrings with the, here we go, the shells, the what are these, I forgot what this is called, that mother of pearl type shell, and then the little crystal fishies with one of my disc beads. So just a simple fun pair of earrings, and I did the shells on chain so that they hung a little bit longer and in the back. So, but they do flip around a little bit while you're wearing them. Dancing seashells, gotta love that. And then the hoops I did with the pearls underneath and the little rope jump rings that came in the kit, and these rings that had the little scallop shell design, and added those with one of my wobbles. And this one, yeah, you guys, glad you stuck around for a second. So this one, do you guys remember those little clear shells that were in the kit? What I did is I took and painted on the back with aged bronze, and so it gave this effect. I love it so much. And then I took the little lizards, and I wasn't feeling very lizardish, so I hammered the lizards completely flat and then stamped some flowers on them and then painted them white. And then I textured this with like a pebbly texture and did lapis and a little bit of bronze mixed together. And I did a slightly thicker coat on this side and a little bit more of the gold showing on that. And then I did the sand, stone, and white down the center to look like a little shoreline. And then we added the little glass beads that were in there with my wobble. And then I did a bracelet. I took the big leaves and I hammered them with my metal sketch type technique, where I did a line down the middle and then did the texture. So this kind of looks like a palm tree leaf now. And then we did the those little I don't know what you call those crystals that look like little dumbbells. But I put them together to make this little cluster. And then I had a little ceramic bead and some humble beads. And then I did dangles with the rock crystal or aquamarine that were in there. And I used a Green Girl Studio clasp on this one. And then to match that, got a little tangled up here, my last pendant that I made, I borrowed this idea from Jess, where she had the little shell on that little piece of chain with a jump ring. And then I added my starfish and one of these little Nautilus charms from Shell's Pottery on Etsy. And then we did those same little tiny 2x3mm beads that I used in those earrings. I did a little chain link of those. And then I used one of those big aquamarine crystals. And then I had a tiny bit of seashell chain in my stash, so I pulled that out and used it. I did all of these on a big, huge, honking 20mm jump ring. The pearl was from the kit. I matched it up with one of my disc beads that looked kind of like a tide pool and sea kelp, so I thought that was a really good match. And then a few more of those aquamarine and a jump ring, and then 2 little artisan beads on the top. And so that's all the goodies that I made from the Amerique July kit. I just haven't had time to take pictures of it, so hopefully this week I'll get these pictures done for you guys. And then of course the other necklace I made the first day. But so that's a little extra inspiration for you. And so I do have another project for next week that's just humble bead focused. And so I was just too inspired last time by the Amerique kit. I could not stop myself. Lisa thinks that bracelet literally rocks. I love that. All right. You love what I did with the lizards? Yeah, I have another pair of earrings that have the lizards on it, so I didn't feel like I needed, I just wasn't feeling the lizards. So, you know, anything in those Amerique kits that isn't calling out to you, you can hammer it to totally change it. And you could see a little bit of the lizard design still before I did the stamps. Oh, and I actually, when I did the lizard stamp, I had what you're seeing here is the back, so I had flipped the lizards around and hammered on the back side of the lizard so they weren't so prominent. So that's another reason it's so hidden. And so I just had little flower stamps. Oops. All right, guys. I don't know why my thing blinked out there. All right, so that's it for today, you guys. Take care. I will see you next week. I'm going to be adding those things to my website. Oh, let's see. At 5 o'clock. I need to give myself some time to take some pictures. So, oh, Lisa, thank you. I appreciate that. I wish my brain worked a little better some days. All right, guys, take care. I will talk to you later. Bye.